Hello, my friends. I have a very special guest. This is the famous, infamous, infamous Michael Glassman, and we've just finished this beautiful event at Park Winters. And not only did we get to do this event, we got to have dinner last night.
Yes.
And it has been just an absolute love fest of designers, and our brains are constantly churning. And so come along, we're going to wander Park Winters.
Yes, and rip it to shreds.
No, come along, it's going to be a good time.
Yes.
Do you feel like your garden is at a really good spot? Or is there something that you're like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to have this. I see it everywhere. And
I love, I mean, there are certain things that I love. Like, I love peonies. I love peonies.
How can you do with peonies down here? It's a hassle.
It's a hassle. The only place that may, and I'll underline may, in one of those raised boxes by the shade garden.
Okay.
You know, maybe, but, you know, peonies, I don't know where, in Seattle, but here normally are so expensive unless say you buy them at Costco and they're like 14 bucks or 19 bucks.
Well, we can grow an herbaceous peony like nobody's frickin' business. The tree peonies are sensational. We can grow a ton of those too. I actually have plans that I want to, the Ito series.
Yes.
I want to add a bunch of Ito to the garden. There's one called Canary Brilliance. That's like a yellowy, and it has a little flame in the middle. It's so cute.
So the funniest thing, you'll get a kick out of that, in my old home in Davis, I had made up my mind I was going to have a peony. So I sent away, you know, we'll call a tree peony. And I planted, I babied it. Of course, it only flowers once.
Yeah, and then she's
I
done.
spent so much time, and I'd get one blossom. I would baby it for the one blossom, and I thought, oh God, yeah.
This is a very high maintenance child.
Yes, but I enjoyed it. This is the part.
Okay, have you been here before?
Okay, you've never been here.
Okay, I came here yesterday, and this fireplace, I was going bananas over here. It's like a steel I-beam.
Yes,
It's
came
so
from.
freaking good.
I think it came from the Bay Bridge when that collapsed. Yes. So this is the part that I've been.
Yeah.
They used to have dinners in here, and this is where we had our anniversary dinner. And then they keep this lit, and then it backs up against the field, which is just amazing.
So it goes, and the flame goes all the way down?
All the way down. So all this really is they ran a gas line. There's you can see the holes.
Yeah.
It's very much like the one you saw last night
at your house.
And then it's just steel. So there's nothing, nothing can burn.
Yeah.
But it's so dramatic.
It's so dramatic. And the thing is, they didn't just do like 3 feet. They did 20 feet of this.
Well, again, I mean, the scale.
What I think is really, the scale. The scale. The scale back here is huge.
It's huge.
It's huge. And I think it makes the entire experience.
It does.
Because you get to see this not only out like one set of French doors, but all three. I mean, we were talking yesterday about how the view in and out of the window is so important, because I feel like a garden, it should draw you in.
I agree. This blows me. Okay, so this blows me away because remember I told you I had a retail store. This is one of the kind of pieces that we would do. We'd find old iron grates and we'd actually build them into, instead of wood, we build them into a metal frame with a piece of glass over the top. And then you've got a one of a kind, doesn't break the bank, but it's so unusual.
I think the really important thing that people forget too is that when you do a landscape, we create so much newness.
Yes.
That if you don't have something found, antique, transplanted, it's almost like the garden, it doesn't have an anchor point.
I agree with you.
To history.
No,
and think that's a thing.
And you're right, because what the resurgence, I mean, I think about, because, you know, I'm a little older than you, but I think about, here's the thing, trends.
Yeah.
Wood floors were gorgeous. We love wood floors. Those gave way to wall-to-wall carpet. People pulled out the wall-to-wall carpet now and are reclaiming the wood floors because they want to see something natural. In my day, I remember my mom tells a story when she was alive. Her great-grandmother, her grandmother used to buy in Williamsburg, New York, old brownstones, these big, and when antiques became really popular, my mom was laughing because she said, growing up, they used to take antique mantles, antique this. No one wanted old.
Yeah, they all wanted new.
So they'd put it in the middle of the street and set it on fire. She said, you cannot believe the stuff that was burned up because everyone wanted new. Nowadays, because of the technology and everything is so fast paced, there is a subset of people, a lot of people that now want handmade things, old things. It grounds us. And exactly with what you said, it grounds us.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at this.
Okay, this portal is sensational.
Isn't that incredible? I love
this. It is sensational. Do you know anything about this?
Yeah, it was an old doorway that they had before the shrubbery. The last time I was here, a lot of the shrubbery hadn't grown in.
Yeah.
So the door looked a little bit out of scale.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, oh my God, you open this door and it's like now you go into this oasis. But I mean, look at the scale on this door.
The scale is so bananas. And I love that they've kept it. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like trim, like box trim in an old entryway where it would come up just underneath the crown.
But look what it relates to, the water tower and the Victorian home.
Yep, yep. And it helps, like, it's so interesting. So all these reclaimed pieces, what I think is really interesting what he's doing is he's using not just like a little bit, but he's using big scalable
big statements.
Big statements.
So I mean,
and it's not like 100 statements, it's one giant statement.
Exactly. So I mean this is amazing.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, the only thing that I was telling Janie yesterday, the only thing I would add here is I would add just a little hit of color. Like if we brought in there's a verbena that's called mango orange.
That would be incredible.
Because it's not trying to steal anybody's show, but it's just pulling in a little detail on the pillows and the bottom of the umbrella.
I agree with you 100%. It would be nice to get some color. It would be nice because basically it's green on green on green on green. And so you lose some of the detail because like the ivy, I mean, it's just a personal thing. I have an aversion for ivy because Rat City. Oh my God.
In Seattle, we have an ivy issue pretty much everywhere. I also, you know what I think color also does? It allows your eye to stop for a second. So, because if we had just a little pop of color here and there, this actually, I feel like it would feel deeper. Don't you think?
Not only that, but I personally, with what you do, the pots are fine, but they're not well.
But could we like scale them?
Oh,
could we get some major just incredible reused
and
pieces?
Even the plants. I mean, if those pots were twice the size and they had, even if you didn't do the color there, if you did those huge pots with wonderful color like what you do, it would be, you'd walk in here and go, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because, I'm sorry, I mean, they're dramatic, they're fine, but they're not enhancing the space. They're just there.
They're there.
They're there.
They're there.
And again, if you were to do it, can you imagine?
Okay, I immediately want to do a cluster behind.
Oh, I agree with you.
Right? Because we get through this incredible portal. Yep. I almost think, okay, I feel like we should come down here and like offer something to Raphael. But I almost feel like I don't even want it on this deck. I want to set it in the middle of that, the middle of that landscape. Jumbo size it.
You could do
anchor it in rock or something.
You could do 3. The middle one, humongous. 2 smaller ones. Do that in color.
And so your eye is just like zoom right in.
Because you walk through this.
It would feel like a promenade. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So because you walk through that.
We're such geeks.
No.
Well,
you know what?
It's so good. It's so good. Yes, because we always want to think like whenever you do a landscape, it's not just about like in the moment. It's like how are we moving through the space? Don't you think so?
I think you're so right, and I think again what we talked about was you've got this incredible arch that's framing what? Okay, the pool is nice, but right behind it, what's your focal point?
Yeah.
That would be an incredible place to have a sculpture. That would be. I think the idea of big oversized pots with that could be your color spot.
Yeah.
Now these feel like afterthoughts. They do. And even the planning's interesting, but
they're sculptural. They're sexy. It's like I feel like it's a bit it's like a little Mad Men.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
But could we go bigger?
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I agree.
Plus also like I look at like this pool area and I always think about like what are our horizon lines?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when we were at your house, you've got such a beautiful horizon line where it's like your eye can start here. It can go 30 feet
Right.
out. It can go another 200 feet out. And so I'm looking at like this little cluster where they've got this beautiful little chaise.
Yep.
That would be focused
Yep.
there.
Yep.
I mean, there's so many
There's
ways.
so many things. The other thing you
Yeah.
could do is, if you didn't put pots, that would be a really cool place to do some sort of a, as you were, a structure.
A cabana.
A cabana.
Yeah.
And then flank it with, I mean.
Flank it with some massive
Yes.
urns.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's your vista. That's your focal point.
Because we have so much beautiful,
Yes, you
like
do.
flat here. It's like asking for something to erupt out of this expanse.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it's just my personal thing. I mean, as we're ripping things to shreds.
No, we're not. We're improving. Okay, Raphael, if you watch this, we have so many ideas for you.
Yes.
We can't wait to come back.
The Italian cypress are cool because they're large.
Love. Yep.
The palm doesn't make any sense.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, to me,
it feels Italian villa, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I almost feel like we need a couple more.
Yeah, you
out
either
there,
have
don't
you
you
either
think?
have one or none. But if you look around where there's no other palms.
Okay.
You have Italian cypress, you have pines, you have crepe myrtles. If you look around, you have bay laurels, and then all of a sudden you have one single palm sticking up in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. I think a duo over here would balance this duo.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And personally, for me, the pines, which are having a hard time, they're dying, would be really cool. Even if you did, can you imagine doing a flamethrower redbud?
Yeah.
Like a grove of them, so that you have orange, red. That needs to be spectacular.
I think what the pines do is they offer like beautiful texture. And it feels ethereal and frothy.
Right.
They're just maybe not happy in that spot.
Well, yeah. And so for me, looking at dying stuff makes me depressed.
Yeah, I know. So give it a haircut, maybe change it out.
Yeah. Or
the redbud would be stunning. It would be stunning.
Yeah.
And then you could do, because I love what he's doing to kind of capture everything. I almost just want to finish this curve a little bit.
Yep.
Because we're so mature here.
Yep. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So I mean, it's funny because in our field, and it's a double-edged sword, I will tell you. Part of me, before I had any training and I got into this, you could just go to a space and just appreciate it for a space.
Yeah.
But as you get more into it and you spend more time, then you start criticizing, analyzing, ripping things.
You know what, though? I feel like it's not even that, though, because you and I are coming into a beautiful space. We're loving this space.
The space. But
and what's the next chapter?
Yeah.
And let's
how can you make it better?
And how can we make it better? And how can we have more fun? And.
Right.
So for us, I don't even think it's criticism. What I think of it as is how do we take this stunning landscape and just like next level it, like notch it up, like what can we add? And
I agree.
And I do, you know what, it turns to criticism when I'm in my own garden.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm like, oh God, it's
terrible. Think to myself, when I was a little kid, my mom used to take us, it was down in Southern California, it was a Unitarian it was like a Unitarian church, but it was a garden. And we would go there a lot, and it was wonderful.
Cool.
And it used to celebrate all religions.
Yeah.
And the one thing I remembered was it had the most incredible pond and water lilies and everything. And I loved it. It was one of my favorite places I'd always ask to go. But I remember after I went into school in landscape architecture, and we started talking about rock work and finishing and edging and everything. And I remember once going back there, and I wanted to slap myself because it was like, oh, look at the edge. You can see exposed concrete. Oh my God, that's not finished well. Oh my God, they didn't do this. And I thought to myself, your childhood, you used to go there and just appreciate just the gorgeousness of it, and now you're picking it apart like crazy. And I realize it's now part of me. Yeah.
But I think also that's such a beautiful thing to revisit some of those spaces and have some nostalgia and appreciation, because you don't know until you don't know.
Yep, it's true.
You know, and it's kind of like there's a quote by Oprah that's like, when you know better, you do better. Or who said that? Maya Angelou? When you know better, you do better. And so it's like you didn't know, but for you, for you at that time, I think that's so glorious because it also gives you an indication of like where you were headed.
Yeah.
Do you know what
true.
I mean?
It's true. It's those things, as I said, and I become critical of myself because it's like, I think to myself,
we are always our own worst critic.
Can't you just appreciate it for what it is instead of trying to analyze it or critique it or anything.
It's hard to shut off your brain.
It is hard to shut off.
But I think the difference is I think when you do this not as just a profession, but as a way of living.
Yeah.
That's where.
And a passion.
And a passion, for sure.
Yeah.
You've been to the Sunken Garden?
I was. We can go over there again. But
I feel like this has been so fun. I feel like I want to come back and be like, okay, next project. I want to like sweep it out a little bit and give like a center point there.
There are places, again, there's really, I mean, where you live is amazing, and you've got amazing botanical gardens and the Japanese garden in oh my God.
Oh, we're like so crazy lucky.
Yes.
If Raphael is watching this is okay, and this is great because we've got function here.
Yep.
Okay, okay, Raphael. This is where we're imagining a giant statement, beautiful urn.
Yes.
Because look, we're just like, it's just a runway right down
directly
here.
And it would actually be, you could take it a half circle right here.
Yep. You could take a half circle, or you could sweep the garden bed more.
Yes, you could.
Do you know what I mean? Like you can like,
so that when you look through the arch, you have something, the single pot with the little teeny palm doesn't do it.
Yeah. And that one is like almost an element that I would snug up next to those chaises there to give them a friend. And
I agree.
You know what I mean? Because I love the face. It's so fun. But yes, right here.
Yep.
Presence, drama.
I agree.
And look at this, look at this gorgeous. This is just, again,
the rusted iron.
The rusted iron, it just is sensational. And again, antiquity in new spaces. Look at how they're setting this up, setting up this wedding. That is the backdrop for a wedding.
Yeah,
that is
who wouldn't want to be,
You know what's interesting? As I was looking at their use of boxwood mixed with rosemary, I never would have done those two. We can't hedge rosemary like this.
Right.
Because we get one, big snap in the wintertime and then it's, sayonara.
Again, the things that I like what they've done, but it's one of my least favorite plants is the privet.
Oh, really?
Oh my God. First of all, what experiences we've had, it drops seeds and seedlings everywhere.
Okay, our privets, they aren't as messy up north. I don't know why.
So invasive here. Secondly, they attract so many bees. I love bees, but and then they smell when they flower. The scent is not lovely.
Not lovely. It's like a viburnum.
Yeah,
sometimes a viburnum, you're like, oh, this is she's not good. She's not good.
To me, I mean, I love the fact that, and he was saying that you really have to shape these. If a thuya would have been really cool. Even like a tiny towers, little Italian cypress.
Okay, so Italian cypresses, the juniper, you could sub a juniper blue arrow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which would be evergreen, less maintenance, and would still give you that. I mean, they're beautiful, but there's a lot of work to kind of keep them.
Here. Yeah. It's so funny. We have so many thuyas where we are that for me, I'm like, oh, ligustrum. All right. I like the privet.
And see, I love
And this is what I think is so great. And this is why I want to have all of this in a video, is because you and I are both coming at it from a design perspective. 2 different climates, 2 different growing zones, 2 different life experiences too. Yeah. And then don't you feel like we also build our own relationships and associations with certain plants?
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like you have your people.
Well, here's a funny story. You'll appreciate it. For years, I taught adult education. It was called the Learning Exchange. One of the classes I taught, besides design, was in plant selection. And I started out the class. I'd go around and I'd say, okay, tell the class what's your favorite flowers or plants or anything. And then now tell me what you hated. What plants do you hate?
Yes.
And people would go around and they would say it. Like one woman said she hates roses. One woman said she hates snapdragons and stock. Another person said, then I stopped after everyone said that. We wrote them down and I went back and I said, I'm really curious. Tell me why, to the woman with roses, tell me why you hate roses. And her explanation, this is so exactly what you just said. She said, when I was growing up, my parents had these big rose gardens. And my brother, who was bratty and obnoxious, used to wait till I was around there, push me into it, and I'd always fall into it, and I'd always get cut with thorns. So the minute...
That is a naughty brother. Yeah. That is so naughty.
So in her mind, she saw roses as pain.
Yeah.
And then I turned to the woman, which again was a real shock. I said, you don't like snapdragons and you don't like stock. And she started getting teary-eyed, and I said, tell me, why don't you like it?
Yeah.
She said, it's not that I don't like it. She goes, I was so close with my mom, and when my mom died, the only thing blooming was snapdragons and stock.
Oh, so it's a pain memory.
And she said, I see them and I think of my mom and it makes me cry, so I don't like them. So what I realized was, people, I'm not a big fan of privet. I mentioned those, but we were little and they always had bees. I always got stung by the bees from the privet. So I equate privet as stinky, messy, and painful.
Okay, so the other thing that I tell people is, I say, when you're designing a garden, as the designer, I am playing plant Tinder. You know, dating app Plant Tinder.
Yep.
Basically, after a conversation, you kind of get to know a client, you know who they are, and you develop a plant profile in your brain. So I can go through an inventory and I can say, like, I just swipe right, swipe left, and I'll go through all my plants and I'll be like, this is a Janie plant. This is not a Janie plant. This is a Janie plant. This is not a
Absolutely.
And also the other thing is, I noticed that it's not just playing Plant Tinder with people and plants, but it's also with place.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
I've had clients move.
Yep.
I go back to do their garden and their plant profile used to be this. And I'm like, oh, we've shifted here.
Completely.
Because your property is now asking for something
Right.
different.
It's
it's hard to say, like, so what's my property asking for? And I'm like, it's not like a language that you could really communicate.
Right.
But it's understood. It's
right.
like subtle.
It may be totally shady, whereas before it was full sun.
Yeah.
It may be, you may have this incredible view and
Yes.
you don't want to block the view.
And your soil has gone from sand to pure clay or something like that, where you're like, now you're fighting conditions with that old plant profile.
So what you're saying is, like in Davis, we have clay soil, and it was, our pH is alkaline.
Okay.
And very heavy. And so for the longest time, you could not grow azaleas, camellias, rhododendron, anything with an acid loving.
Correct.
You treat them like an annual because they would get chlorotic and die. About 15 years ago, Davis, they were used to be all on groundwater and now is getting 50%, sometimes even more, from the Sacramento River, which changed the pH.
Oh,
yes.
interesting.
So for the very first time now, as it leached out and everything, you can start to use azaleas. You can start to use more acid-loving things that would not grow, but now they grow, and it's really interesting. So I used to, when I was designing, because I've been doing it for so long, I used to treat people, if they really wanted an azalea, they'd put it in a pot.
Yeah,
so
this is now an annual.
Right.
Yeah.
And then treat it with acid-loving fertilizer. If they wanted, there were certain things that I knew you couldn't grow. Gardenias do not grow in Davis.
Yeah.
Because they really like the acid. But you're right, conditions change. We go from a very where normal rain to drought for 7 years, and where you were used to things thriving, and now all of a sudden, oh my God, it's the whole thing with lawn.
Yeah.
Massive
effort it takes for a lot of lawns,
yes.
I feel like lawn now needs to be very intentional.
Yes. Yes.
And I am a full component.
Yes.
So, we talked about this last night. I ripped out the entire front lawn and now we have dining room and edible landscape. And yes, I'm getting rid of all this lawn, but now I've created such more of an ecosystem.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
The plants are happier, the bees are happier, the birds are happier.
Right. And the lawn.
It's like such a monoculture.
Yes. And the lawn, basically, sure, if you want to play on it, play volleyball and, and
kids, little trikes, that kind of stuff.
Right.
It has a place. But I think lawn needs to be intentional now as opposed to standardized.
Well, even here.
Yes.
Okay. So the bottom line is, if this lawn has been, so you're having a wedding here. So if this lawn has been watered, and you can see it's already wet, and weddings, characteristically, the bride wears heels.
Correct.
You put a bride in heels on a lawn, or people that are coming, she's going to sink right in.
So you could do, isn't this interesting? Okay, can't you imagine doing a pathway? Like, granted, we have a hedge backdrop here, but couldn't you imagine doing a pathway just up there and then putting another focal point at the edge of that pathway?
Yes.
So it like gives some purpose to it,
And
or
if
even like a raft.
this is where they do a lot of weddings, that could even be the decomposed granite.
Yes,
So that
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
So it just goes right in like that.
But again, that's things that a lot of people until after the fact will never realize. Yeah, this is a perfect area. I'd love to get married here, but maintenance wise,
yeah,
trying to keep that in the middle of summer. Okay, it's a nice day today, but if it's 105, trying to keep that lawn alive with everyone trampling it, plus the heels and everything, that's not functional. That's not practical.
Yeah. So then almost it feels like we now need to reshape.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Now
Yes.
it's like, oh my gosh, now we could swing, we could mirror a pathway down there. Oh, but there's like, so this is a place, like it has, this is what's so great. You have a property like this that is so beautiful, it's so sensational, and the story just gets to continue.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So fun. This is so fun.
This is really pretty.
Oh my God.
I'm open.
We have ideas.
Everyone just stay like that. Let me take a photo.
Oh my gosh,
No,
yes.
Don't move. Don't move. Okay.
Don't move. We're not moving.
Not post. All right. Excellent. Thanks. Nice. Sneaking out. No fair. Nice.
We have ideas. We have some pool deck enhancements we would like to discuss.
Okay. I'm open. You know, everything here is better because of other people's opinions.
I love like watching the development of a property so much.
We built Park Winners. We built it to be a platform for everyone, for writers, musicians, chefs, creatives, like salons of interesting subjects. So I'm 100% open. Like we curate this place as a like neutral, like what you see is what we do, and then people like recreate it every for their events to do things. I used to live in Florida in a town called Longwood, and it was right next door to Longwood was Winter Park. And Winter Park is where we would all want to live there. Okay, they have cobblestone streets. They have a little train that goes into the center of town, and it's like dreamland. And every year they have the Winter Park Art Festival, and they have all these amazing artists from all over. And so Park Winner's name was influenced because in my consciousness I had Winter Park. Yeah. And when we were driving here, we were talking about what we were going to name it. And we were just going around and we said Winters Park, and like Park Winters, and so that's how before we got here, we already had the name.
Yep.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Enjoy. I've had so much fun. I'm giggling like a girl right now. This has been a treat.
I agree. I agree.
It has been a joy. It's like feeling a connection with a kindred spirit.
I agree. And the thing that's so neat is design is design, and whether you agree or you don't, to be able to talk about, this works, this doesn't work, why, in your opinion, my opinion, it works and everything. It opens your eyes to new ideas and new possibilities. Yeah. I've loved this. Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful afternoon.
It has been so fun, and it's so great to just kind of like, it's like, I think when we design in solitary settings, to come together and have a moment to just chat professional to professional, but also human to human.
Yes.
It's more like we're just in communion with each other. Yeah.
Exactly.
So thank you so much all for watching. I hope you've loved this as much as we have.
We've had fun.
And I know, it's been a good time. We're going to see you in the next one. And in the meantime, go say hello to your garden for me.